So, you remember that Atari system Atari teased a couple of months ago? Well, that's right. We have more information on Atari's upcoming console called the Ataribox. If you didn't know something, Atari, of course, hasn't made any consoles for many years. The last time they made consoles was back in the 80s, and they're trying to make a comeback with this new console called the Ataribox. And honestly, if you're to ask me, I don't think this is the right direction Atari needs to go. I don't think they actually need to produce this console. And honestly, I don't think what we're hearing from this thing is actually coming out to be great news. I think what we have here is going to be a pretty bad decision on Atari's part. I don't know why they're thinking about coming up with this, and I'll explain a little bit later. So the new information we got on it, we pretty much got what's going to be inside of it and also what it's going to be running and things like that. So we do know right now for a factor that the Ataribox is going to be running an AMD processor. We don't know how powerful it is going to be, but by the looks of the Ataribox, we do know that it's probably not going to be as powerful as a PS4 or Xbox One, maybe more powerful than a Nintendo Switch, who really knows. But considering Atari did state that the Ataribox can't play games at full power, it's not really great at all. It won't play modern games at maxed out settings, which is not great. We do know, however, Atari did state that they want to make this an open-ended experience, unlike some other consoles like the PS4, the Xbox One, or even the Nintendo Switch, where it's not an open-ended experience. You can't do whatever you want. You pretty much got to use what they give you. What do I mean by that? Well, I mean that Ataribox is going to be using a operating system called Linux, and everyone knows Linux is just like Windows and just like Mac, so you can pretty much tinker around, do whatever you want. Again, that'll also depend how much they keep locked up or unlocked, if they make this a custom build of Linux or is it a fully functional Linux, depending on how much of Linux they give us to play with. That'll actually be nice. I guess alongside gaming, you'll be able to stream Netflix, Hulu, do something on the internet, etc., things like that. Now, the downside to this whole thing is Linux doesn't really sound too great at all, considering that we don't know what type of games it's going to play, and it might scare off some people, yes, just because if you look at Linux, this looks like it could just be a set-top box with an OS operating system on it. Could this be another Steam box? Could this be a mini PC like some of them on the market right now? Who really knows? But the downside to this whole thing is they actually did reveal the price of the Ataribox. The price of the Ataribox is looking like it's going to be anywhere from around $250 to $300 Atari states. So that's not great news, considering if you think about the range that they're in. They're trying to compete with the Xbox One, the PS4, and the Nintendo Switch. And those systems pretty much already got their footing on the ground. They pretty much already got their place in the marketplace. And everyone knows those brands, and those are brands. And you know those brands aren't going nowhere. And that's really bad, considering Atari's very old. Everyone may be sketchy about Atari. Atari hasn't made games for years and things like that. That's not sounding like a good price at all. And considering what you're getting for the price, that may not be good at all, considering it might be slightly more powerful than a Nintendo Switch, who really knows. But we do know for a factor it's definitely not going to be more powerful than the base Xbox One or PS4 just by looking at the specs and them telling you that it's only going to play games at mid settings, which is not great at all. Their whole thing with this thing is they're probably going to put some emulators on it to play some old Atari games, to harken back to the old Atari games, and then maybe you'll be able to sideload like Steam on it, put Steam on it, and then play some modern games. The only problem with the whole Steam box at this very current moment is we don't know what type of games are we going to be playing. Are we just going to be playing Steam games on this, or are we going to be playing old retro Atari games? I'm assuming, since this thing's so expensive, we're at least going to be playing mid-range PC games on here. Maybe we'll be playing some AAA games at medium settings and to low settings, which is not great at all, considering you can spend literally $200 or $300 more for your money and get something that can run PC games better than that, which is not great at all. And the fact that we don't know what type of games are going to be putting on here. Is Activision going to be making their own games for this again? Or are they going to be having third parties? Or are we just going to be using Steam? That's the real big problem I have with the Steam box right now. We have no way of knowing what type of games are going to be on the Steam box. So this is really concerning, considering we all know the PS4, Xbox One, and the Nintendo Switch already have great games for them. And we know that games are coming for those systems. And they're always going to have games for their lifespan. So you don't have to worry about the games. The problem is with the Ataribox, we have no way to know what type of games are on there. So you're not going to be guaranteed what type of games. You don't know if it's just going to be Steam, are we going to be playing old retro games and things like that. And on top of this, there's even something else that makes this whole matter even worse than what I'm already mentioning. The thing that makes this worse than what I'm already mentioning is that they have not started producing this, or this is not in current production right now as we speak, which is not good news at all. What their plan is, Atari's plan is, since Atari, if you didn't know, a couple of years ago, Atari wasn't good financially, and Atari was struggling and things like that. So that tells you this is not a good sign for them to make a new console. But on top of that, they're really trying to make this a true hit. What they're trying to do is get people to back this thing on Indiegogo. Yep, you heard me right. They're trying to get this to be backed on Indiegogo, and that's not a good sign at all, because what if you put your money into this and this thing doesn't even turn out to be good? Or what if you put your money into this and no one even backs this thing and then it doesn't even come out on the market? So this thing is a dream that Atari has, but the dream looks like it's likely not going to do well. And considering it's running an operating system, a desktop operating system like Linux, it's not looking good at all. I think what people really want is just a set-top box that plays games. You put a game in, you play, and bada boom, bada bang. It's simple and clean, just like the Xbox One, PS4, or Nintendo Switch. You don't really have to worry about how to install stuff and do things like that. I think what this is looking like more, I don't think they know what consumer they're trying to reach. Are they trying to reach the tech enthusiast that has a gaming PC, or are they trying to reach the audience of retro? Because this thing does look like the old Atari systems from way back in the day. It does have the wood grain for the actual system's design, and it will be playing old retro Atari games. We know for a fact, or most likely, it's going to be playing those old Atari retro games. But then again, it's not saying that they can play the best games on PC, so it's kind of stuck in the middle. And the fact that we don't even know anything about the controller it's using, what kind of controller is this thing using, and things like that. But what the worst thing about this whole entire thing, besides everything I said going back to the beginning of the video, is the games. When you look at a gaming box, all you care about is the games. You don't care about what operating system it's going to use. You don't care about the controller. You don't really care about the graphics. You want to know what type of games this is playing, and that's really a sad part about this whole thing. We don't have any information on the games it's going to be playing. The way I look at this thing is not going to compete in the market where we already have a lot of gaming systems, PC gamings, and I think honestly it's a little bit too late for Atari to be making a console at this point. I mean, they might as well just go back to being the once failed company, and they'll probably always be a failed company. I would be surprised if this thing actually does fairly decent, but I don't think it will. I will have to say though, I do think some people may actually end up backing this, and this may actually come out on the market. But again, I don't think the Ataribox is going to do that great, unfortunately. That's the sad truth about the Ataribox. It's just in a weird spot. It doesn't know if it wants to be for the hardcore gamers, or if it wants to be for the retro gamer itself. But that's some pretty news about the Ataribox. Anyway, guys, peace out. I'll see you guys later in my next video. I'm out, guys.